Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, June 28th. It's Wednesday. It's a 13-game main slate, so a pretty big Wednesday slate in general. Pretty much the structure that we're going to be going through for today's video. Recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out. Checking up on the weather report for today. If any weather is going to be affecting any games in general. Going over to FanDuel, talking about the core picks that I do like. One pitcher, 4 hitters. And then last but not least, going over to the bottom half of the cheat sheet, talking about my top GPP teams to stack for today's slate overall. That cheat sheet is 100% free. It is up on Facebook. It's up on Twitter. It's up on the YouTube community tab. And then if you're interested in some more in-depth notes, be sure to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Coach Craig Sports. Some more in-depth notes, like I had mentioned, breaking down kind of the pitchers, the hitter matchups, everything else like that. Definitely a good resource to use as we're building out our lineups for today. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. If you guys have any questions whatsoever at any point in time during this video, if you're watching live, feel free to drop in a live chat. If you're watching on replay, leave it down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But in terms of yesterday's picks, at pitcher, we had Zach Gallen. He was $10,000. Got 24 points yesterday. Did give him a push. He wasn't anybody that really helped us. Wasn't anybody that really killed us at the same time. Unfortunately, he had one bad inning in the early stages of that game where he gave up 4 runs. Lost out on the quality start because of it. Still got the win, a decent stat line. It otherwise 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, 5 hits earned, and 2 walks. So could have been a little bit better performances. Obviously, if you give up 2 runs or less, would have been looking at a quality start, would have been looking at closer to the 40 points we were looking for out of him. And then at first base, we went with Pete Alonso, $4,100. Pretty good history in the past versus Julio Teheran. Unfortunately, went 0 for 3 yesterday, but he did score a run and I believe get an RBI in this game. It was alongside a walk. So he did pay off in terms of like the minimum that we were looking for out of him at 12.2. So he did end up giving him a hit. And then Manny Machado, $3,300, got to 9.2 points. So I ended up giving him a hit as well. Probably was kind of on the borderline of hit or push, but if you want to call it a push, you call it a push. Then Brandon Drury at $3,100, got to 6 points, second base, first base eligible. Not the greatest day for him, but not anybody that hurt us or killed us or helped us out at the same time. Same thing for Owen Miller, $2,600, got to 6 points as well. So he ended up being a push. So kind of lackluster day. If you went with these core 5, you hopefully had some other decent plays to kind of make up for it. But like I said yesterday, large 15-game main slate, a good slate to really, really mix and match, especially at the pitcher position in terms of stacks and everything else like that. But with that being said, we're going to stop talking about the recap there. We'll go over to RotoWire, look at some of these weather spots for today overall. Doesn't look like anything too major at this point in time. As always, if anything does majorly change throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments below, but we'll just take a quick run through as we're talking through it. So once again, 13-game main slate. There's 2 games that are earlier today. Cincinnati and Baltimore actually has good weather for once, it looks like. So that is a pleasant surprise since they've had rain delays the past 2 days. Boston's got 22% chance of rain, not too much weather concern there. 65% in New York with the Mets and the Brewers game. This is going to be the biggest spot on today's slate overall in terms of weather. So that's one that we'll definitely be keeping an eye out on throughout the day. Obviously, both these pitchers could end up being pretty viable today. And Kodai Senga, strong strikeout potential. Wade Miley's got some decent history against the Mets and had a decent start versus them, I believe, earlier this year where he got 37 points, which isn't too bad for his price tag overall. Only a 5% chance of rain in St. Louis, so it doesn't look like anything to be majorly concerned about there. 20% in Chicago with the Cubs and the Phillies, so a little bit chance of rain there. Probably nothing too major, though. 6% in Kansas City, so not anything that's too concerning there. 18% out in Colorado. That obviously could change very much throughout the day since weather does like to go a little bit crazy there at times in Colorado, but mainly going to be that New York Mets and Milwaukee Brewers game that is going to be the one we majorly look at. As always, if anything does change throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments below. So we're going to stop sharing this screen. We're going to move over to FanDuel and talk about those core picks that I do have for today overall. So bringing this up, looks like we're lagging just a little bit here. Not too bad today, though. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position today with Aaron Nola. He's $9,600. Aaron Nola has had a very, very up and down season, but starting to pitch better as of late. Going against the Chicago Cubs today, pretty favorable matchup for him. He's got good history versus them in the past. Start earlier this season, he had 55 points against them. Last year, the one time he did pitch against them, he had 30 points. So some pretty decent history there. I like the upside that he does present. $9,600, very middle of the road price tag for pitcher position today. Maybe he doesn't draw as much ownership as he typically would. since he's had those less than stellar performances this year, but probably still going to draw a decent amount of ownership at that price tag. Then we're going to keep moving down. We got Anthony Rizzo here. He's at $2,900, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game on the season. And, that's a really cheap price tag for Anthony Rizzo going against JP Sears on the mound. Lefty on lefty matchup today, but he is 2 for 3 in his career versus JP Sears. Like taking advantage of, the cheaper price tag here. Not necessarily convinced that you have to go Yankee stack or anything else like that. Maybe just a one of, but there are some decent Yankees players out there. Gleyber Torres is at $2,800. A couple of price down spots. Stan's really struggled, but he's down to like $2,800 as well. Oswaldo Cabrera, oddly enough, is 4 for 5 with 1 home run in his career versus JP Sears. So if he ends up starting, could be an interesting pay down option at $2,000. But back to Anthony Rizzo on the season. 272 average, 11 home runs, 37 RBIs. Like I said, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game. You look at the recent history, so he's got a hit in 4 out of his last 5 games. So it's a pretty decent floor there as well. I haven't really seen the ceiling out of him too much as of late, but hopefully that could change today as well. Then we're going to keep moving down. We got shortstop Jordan Westburg, who, obviously got called up a couple days ago, $2,700, averaging about 11 fantasy points per game. Obviously, it's a 2-game, small sample size, 429 average. 0 home runs, the 1 RBI, got a hit in both games so far this season. So do like the upside that he does present. Cheap price tag, maybe draws a little bit of ownership. Good matchup against Luke Weaver. Obviously, there is no history in his career versus Luke Weaver, so not too much to write home about in that regard, but do like him as kind of a cheaper option today. And I'm not super interested in most of the shortstops today. A lot of them just going to play alongside whatever stacks we do end up using. And then we're going to move down to the outfield with Jake Fraley. So Jake Fraley is 3 for 4 in his career with 2 home runs versus Kyle Gibson. And, $3,300, not a bad price tag there. 11 fantasy points per game, 266 average, 11 home runs, 47 RBIs. So really racking up the RBIs early on in the season for Jake Fraley. A little bit, it's a favorable matchup righty on lefty there too. So he should be in that starting lineup once again. He did go for 3, looks like yesterday, but before that he was on a 5-game hitting streak. So some pretty decent upside there. 3 of those games had home runs too. So been pretty hot as of late. Good matchup against Kyle Gibson, and he's had that good success versus him in the past. If you're building out a red stack, he's going to look pretty good. TJ Friedel at the top of the lineup is going to look pretty good, and then you kind of mix and match 2 other Reds hitters of your choice from there. Then last but not least, we're going to Shohei Ohtani. He's all the way up to $4,400 now at this point in time, averaging 15 fantasy points per game, 304 average, 28 home runs, 64 RBIs. So a monster season for Ohtani once again already so far. He is going against Lucas Giolito. Giolito's pitched pretty well this year, but Ohtani is 7 for 23 with 3 home runs versus Lucas Giolito in his career, including 1 home run this season. So definitely like the upside that Ohtani does offer just in general. Not sure that you have to stack Angels, but, some hit or miss history for Giolito versus this Angels team just in general. But if you're going to play anyone, probably would play Ohtani. Taylor Ward's another interesting option as he does have a home run versus him as well. And if you look at the recent games, obviously Ohtani's been hitting the ball extremely well. Let's see, what's that? 5-game hitting streak, 3 multi-hit games during that time, 2 home runs plus that. So 4 home runs in his last 5 games. So going to be really hot, probably going to be a really popular option today, but definitely warranted at his price tag and the recent history plus the past history versus Lucas Giolito. So with that being said, that's the 5 core picks that I do have for today overall. If you go with these 5 players, you have $12,100 remaining, just over $3,000 per player. So a little bit of room, whether you want to spend up, spend down. Obviously, you don't have to play all 5 of these together, especially on a 13-game main slate. You're going to want to get some access to stacks, especially on today's slate overall. Some pretty good matchups that are out there. We're going to get moved over to the YouTube community tab and the bottom half of my cheat sheet to talk about some of those top stacks, though. And as we're talking through this, there's only 4 of these that actually fit on the cheat sheet. If you go over the Patreon page, patreon.com/Coach Craig Sports, there's about 9 different teams that I have on there that are potential stacks for today overall. So we're going to start off with the Baltimore Orioles. They are going against Luke Weaver. Pretty favorable matchup there. Not a lot of history, though, so definitely like Jordan Westburg, like I already talked about. You can go after Anthony Santander, who's been hitting the ball really well. A lot of different options from this Baltimore team just in general. Gunnar Henderson made the cheat sheet as well. Good matchup there. Just Luke Weaver has not been good whatsoever so far this season. And if you want to play the Reds on the opposite in the game, going against Kyle Gibson, who's been very hit or miss this year, obviously talked quite a bit about that already with Jake Fraley. Looking at some stacks potentially with TJ Friedel and some other guys as well. Then got the Cleveland Guardians. They're going against Austin Cox. No real history there. He is either going to be like, pitching a couple innings, or they'll have an opener before him. We'll see how it all plays out today, but probably not going to pitch more than like 4 innings in this game. Not too much history there. Do like Cleveland just in general. And then we got the Dodgers and the Rockies. Going to talk about them together in that same game. Dodgers going against Kyle Freeland, a little bit of hit or miss history there. And then the Rockies going against Michael Grove, who not too much history there, hasn't pitched too well this year. They might go with an opener before Grove today, but definitely like that. Both those teams going to be probably pretty popular at Coors Field with some less than stellar pitching in that game today. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the top stacks. If you guys do have any more additional questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below. As always, I'll be listing all the weather updates down there, all the starting lineups that do come out throughout the day. So definitely make sure you're checking up there as we do get closer to lock. Any other things that you guys need, just be sure to let me know. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on today's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. And then with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it is mainly MLB DFS. We got some USFL DFS for the championship game this weekend. And then this week, I will be starting to do a CFL DFS video or live stream as well. That will be coming out tomorrow. There's a 3-game slate for CFL DFS. USFL and CFL are both over on DraftKings side. So if you're interested in that, definitely be sure to check that out as well. But with that being said, pretty much all that I do have at this point in time. We'll also be having the bet of the day either posted later down below as a pinned comment or making a short video for it. So definitely be sure to check that out. 5-0 so far since I started doing that for the MLB side. So definitely take advantage of that. We're on a very good hot streak with that. Take advantage of it over at Prize Picks, Parlay Play, or Bet US. All the links to those and my promo codes are down in the description below. But definitely do appreciate each and every one of you that is checking that out, that is signing up, helps you out a little bit, helps me out a little bit as well. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video, for today's live stream. Definitely appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're tuning in live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me, helps build, And then with that being said, excuse me, can't talk right now. And then with that being said, hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.